Good afternoon or good day, and welcome to one of Tef's tutorials. Today I'm going to run through all of the basics in Reaper. I'm going to hopefully try and take you right through getting set up to recording and saving your own song. So I apologize to a lot of the more accomplished viewers. This is designed to help people get started right from the beginning. So you've loaded up Reaper and this is what you've got on your screen. The first thing that came up should have been something to tell you that you haven't got a device set up. So options and preferences, and this will take us back to the device settings. The default device settings is this, the wave out, but we don't want that. We want our interface setting up. If you don't have an interface and you're using a USB mic, then you use your input to choose your USB device there. If you have an interface, make sure that you've got the correct drivers installed. Select ASIO, select the interface you're using. I have two interfaces today. I'm going to be using the Fast Track Ultra 8. Select your first input in and your last input in. This means that Reaper will see all 8 of my inputs. And also, for going out to separate headphone mixes and so on, you'll want analog. You want your first output and last output. Then we need to make sure that you're set up for low latency. For those of you who don't know what latency is, it's the amount of time it takes for the signal to go into your computer, be processed and come back out. That slight delay between what you play and what you hear, or what you sing and what you hear, that is latency. So to combat that, you want the buffer ratings as low as possible. Your buffer levels are going to be causing latency because that's the amount of time you're allowing your computer to look ahead, where you're using RAM instead of CPU to process. So if you click on ASIO configuration, it should bring up the settings for your device. This is mine. If I click the setup, you can see here my preferred buffer size 256. That is low enough for everything that I do, but also it means that when I'm playing back and the effects that I'm using, I'm not getting any clicks or pops. They always say to use as low buffer settings as you can for recording, and then raise them up for mixing. Because I don't really get any noticeable latency at 256, and it's fine for my mixing, I tend to set it at that and leave it at that. Your device settings like that will look different from device to device. Like there's my the one from my Behringer, so I can set my sample rate and so on there. So that's your device setup, and technically you are ready to go. But I like to do a couple of things first that if you don't do it now, you'll do it later and you'll wish you did it now. So if we go up here into General, when you've recorded a project and saved it in Reaper, the first thing that'll happen when you open Reaper up is it'll open up the project that you were last working on. I don't like that because it's very rarely what I want to work on next. So the startup settings here, I've got it to prompt. This will bring up any templates that I've got. It'll bring up any projects that I've been recently working on, and I can choose how I want Reaper to open. So I recommend that. And then if we go to paths here, in my documents on my computer, in fact, I'll go to my documents on my computer now. Documents, I have a folder called Reaper Media, where I keep my Reaper stuff. I'm going to delete all this because I don't need this to actually be there anymore. That was just to show something else to somebody else. Recordings and stuff, and if you can see here, so when I save a project, it saves it into the Reaper Media folder first. It goes there and it gives me the option to save it there. And that is what we want this to do. So set up a folder, whether it's on your desktop or on in your documents or your My Music folder or wherever you want, and then browse and save that there. Click apply to save it there. For those of you who are loading up, who have downloaded other effects from third parties, I did a lot of that to begin with, and then I went back to just using Reaper on its own. You want to go down here to plugins, VST, and then edit the path list. Add the path to wherever you saved that plugin. That when you loaded it up, when you're going through that procedure, it asks you where do you want to load it, to save it, and if you're anything like me, you probably just clicked OK. You want to take a note of that path and add that there, and then rescan for new or modified plugins and apply. And that is everything in those preferences that I've done, and that will give you access to all of the effects that you will have downloaded. Now, one further adjustment that I've made that you will likely want to make is if we go to File, Project Settings. I've not changed anything in the Project Settings tab. In the Media, I've typed Audio in this path to save media files. What this does is when I save the project, we will go into that much more later on, but I have my Reaper Media folder, and then I'll have my individual project folder, and then within that project folder I'll have an audio folder where it saves all the audio files. It'll move all the samples in there, it'll move everything into that audio folder, so when I go into that folder it's all nice and neat and tidy. So we'll click OK on that, and that is us ready to record. Now I'm going to do something a little different to my usual here. I'm going to pause and I'll come back and edit the video together. Okay then, so now that we've set Reaper up ready to actually record, we're going to do something else. So I don't usually like to see the mixer here, so I'm going to press Ctrl and M to get rid of it. Something that people do quite a lot is get rid of the mixer and the transport buttons. That's these buttons down here that stop, back, forwards, record, play, loop, stop and pause. They're called your transport buttons. Sometimes they'll disappear, and you can get them back by going View, Transport Buttons, View Mixer. But I like to remove the mixer from there because I do like to undock it and put it into a separate screen, but we don't really need the mixer at this point. And I like to put the master track at the top. So View Master Track. Now first you need to set the tempo of your project. If you know that your project is, for example, 110 beats per minute, you can go to here and you can see BPM 120. Let's change that to 110, and that will change the tempo of our project to 110 beats per minute. Now if you don't know the tempo but you know how fast you want to play, hover the cursor over BPM and it changes to tap tempo, so you can go 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4, and we have 115 beats per minute. So we'll leave it at that. We're going to go up here. There's a little symbol there that looks like a metronome, and that is actually, yes, your metronome. You can get to it as well by going Options, Metronome Enabled, and Metronome Pre-roll Settings. You can right click on that symbol for the metronome to get your metronome settings. I like to set my metronome volumes. I'm double clicking on the fader here to 0 dB because I like them to be loud and consistent, because otherwise I don't hear it too well and it can get lost in the music and it leads to a mess. I actually prefer to play along to a drum pattern, which we'll go into very shortly, don't you worry. You can have it counting before it starts playing and before it starts recording. In fact, I'll tick those boxes just to demonstrate what happens. So we've got it at 0 dB. If you have a library of sounds, for example drum sounds and stuff, you can go browse, and in fact I do have a library of drum sounds, so we'll go to my drums folder and we'll have that clap, and then we'll have yet again midis and tutorials drum folder. Where's the claps? We'll have that clap. And now if we listen to the metronome, I'll switch it on here. Okay, for some reason that's while I'm using OBS, that doesn't seem to be working. But you can also go insert, click to source, and there we go. There we have a click track that we can actually play. Now, as you can see, we're getting it showing on the meter, but I'm not getting any volume. I will sort that out just shortly. And if you go to the edge of your click track, you can see your cursor turns into a little two-way arrow with a little kind of bracket. And if you click and drag from there, it allows you to drag that for the entire key. So you've got your click track set up. I also like to start off with a drum track. I don't usually have a click track, so we'll delete that. The drum track, we're going to go and we're going to color it. If you right click, track color, set tracks to custom color, you can choose a color there. What I've done is, if you go to actions, show action list, and go track custom color, and you go down here, you've got track set to custom color. When I click on there, shortcuts for selected action, you can add and press the letter that you want. As you can see, I've got it set to C, and then track, and we want icon. Yet again, track set icon, I've set to I. Now if I go here, press add and press C, the shortcut of C, and if I click OK, it'll tell me what it's assigned to, so you know not to. There you go, key is already mapped to the action set to custom color, override mapping. We don't want to override the mapping, so we're going to go color, blue, OK, icon, and this opens this set of icons, drums. Now if I press Ctrl and M to bring the mixer back up, you can see that my drum track is blue. If I right click on here, I can go to show track icons in mixer, and there we go, there's the drum up the top. Because when I'm using the mixer, I have the mixer on a separate screen to Reaper, so I've got all my tracks on one screen and my mixer on the other. If I'm looking at the screen with the mixer on, the icons help tell me exactly what's in what track straight away. So we're going to take another break. I'm going to come back with loading up a drum kit that I use and how to use that. And welcome back. So what we're going to do now is we're going to add a drum track. So I've installed a free VSTI, that's a virtual studio instrument called MT Power Drum Kit. If we right click and go insert virtual instrument on new track, we can choose the MT Power Drum Kit. Now this gives us the option of opening it like this, so all these different tracks will be for each of the individual drums, so you can have a mixing desk for the drums. We'll do that just to show you. Let's skip, and right, there's the drum kit. And for now we're going to actually delete all that. Delete. Okay, Control A, delete, and we're going to add a track and add it like that. So there's several ways of doing this, and there we go. So we're going to name this drums, color it blue because that's what I like to do my drums as, icon drums. And here we are, ready to start our drum kit. If I record ARM, I can go to input MIDI and select the MIDI from this keyboard. You can see by the yellow line going up and down that it's receiving a signal, but so I can turn on my metronome. Let's go back to the settings and put that back to there. We'll take the counting off, and we'll go Control and R to record. So So when we save that, there we go. There's our MIDI drum part. I'll shut this down so you can see a little better, and I'll expand this. Just go to the edge and drag, and you can see it's written in MIDI. So you can write your drum part like that, but we're going to delete that. We're going to go back to here. We're going to just draw in 2 bars. We're going to insert new MIDI item. I can double click and this brings up what they call the MIDI editor. So you can see that C2 is the kick. We can go so this. So and then there's the snare. So you can literally draw it in. So and let's copy them, and we'll go paste, paste, and paste, and that will give us a little drum loop that we've written. So that's it. That's another way of getting your drum loops. Now let's delete that again, because in MT Power Drum Kit, we just click effects. There, the effecting brings this up. we can go to a little thing labelled grooves. Right, so let's go to intros. Let's play that one. So I like that one. We're going to drag that and drop it in there. And then we're going to go to 16th closed hi-hat and have a listen to this. Now if we turn that to 8 bars, that'll give us 8 bars of that, and we'll drag and drop it in there, and then we'll have a listen to this. We'll drag and drop that in there, and let's listen to this one. Yeah, that'll do an 8 bars of that. So that kind of helps us write a drum bit. So if we have a listen to this now, we can turn the metronome off. That'll do nicely. So we'll turn the record on bit off on this, and we're going to add a new track. I can press Control and T. So Control and T does that. Or if I press Control and Z to get rid of it, double click here, and we're going to put in a bass line. Going to go color, green, icon, bass. There we go. Yeah. And yet again, if I go show track icons, there we go. In the mixer we can see what's on what. Control M to get rid of the mixer, and I'll get my bass ready and I will be back with you. Well then, we're back with the bass guitar. So first thing we do is click the arm record, and then down here input mono, going to select the front in. You select whichever one of your inputs have been added as your, as you can see, we've got input. So we're ready to record the bass. I do like to add rear tune, which is actually a vocal tuner as well. But here, if you look, I can tune my bass on my guitar using the built-in tuner, and this means that, yes, that everything that I'm tuning will always be the same. But then I also do like to go add compressor, and we'll use the drive and rock bass preset, add EQ, re-EQ, and in the presets go down to bass, add, type in amp up there, and there's the JS convolution amp modular. Click this to stereo. It's already set on a Fender Bassman. So let's record a bass line. We'll go click back to the start, Control and R. that'll do for the moment. So if we have a listen back. That's fine by me. So we're going to add another track now, and we're going to call this one Guitar. And again, we're going to go icon, I'm going to put the guitar in there. Color, I like the guitar one to be red. You tend to fall into these little habits. Now in the effect, what we're going to do again is we're going to put, in fact we're going to drag these effects down, and we're going to change this, or the rear comp, we're going to change it to distorted electric guitar. The EQ, we're going to change to 11 band Fender Mesa Boogie. We're going to change this to Marshall Chieftain. We're going to add JS distortion fuzz and change the channel mode to stereo again. So when we put the guitar on, and we'll add a little reverb. So reverberate, and let's go for the live vocals. And at the beginning, what we should have done is add a gate. So rear gate, and there we go. Except we want to take the release right down, because it's my intention is to show you doing everything with just what you have in Reaper. So we're not using any amps, we're not using any pedals, we're just using what you've got with here. So right then, let's go. Now, I haven't pre-written anything, so this is really quite diabolical stuff. We can have a listen to it all together now. So you can hear, yes, that we've got the startings of a song coming together. Now, I'll be back shortly with some vocals. So then, before we start recording the vocals, we're going to go to the master track up here, and we're going to add a new hardware output. And every time I do this at the moment, it seems to mess up a little. So let's go back into the hardware output. There we go. And we want a stereo output of headphones left and right out. So I've got it channel 3 and 4. So what this has done is it's added a send from the master to my headphone amp, which means I can turn the speakers off completely, and I can stick my headphones on. We're not going to get any bleed at all from the vocals. So double click to get a track ready. We're going to call it vocals. C, and we're going to color it yellow. Icon, and we're going to put a little microphone in there. Now we're going to do a couple of things to prepare for this. We're going to add a track here, and we're going to call it reverb, and another track here and call it delay. And these are going to be what we call buses or sends. And we're going to select them both by control and click in each. Color, orange, icon, and there's an effects one here somewhere. There we go. Effects. Right, on the reverb we're going to go to effects, and we're going to go to reverbate. We're going to add an effect called one of the presets called discrete room. We're going to take the dry down completely, leave the wet up. The delay, we're going to do the same effects, delay, rear delay, and we're going to choose vocal slap back, turn the dry down and the wet up. Then we're going to click and hold on the root button for the vocals, drag it down. As you can see, it changes to a jack plug, and then the same here. This sends the vocals to the reverb. So if we click here and select solo mic, hey, so you can hear the delay and the reverb. We can turn it down here, so we've still got the delay and the reverb. Now we may as well do this while we're here. We'll go add a compressor, rear comp, and at the moment I'm just going to use, like I say, the presets, just so that we can get through this nice and quickly and you get an idea of what's being done. And EQ 11 band clear vocals. Right, now let's record something. Hey, yeah, 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 recording in reverb. Hey, yeah, hey, yeah, recording in reverb. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Like I said, yes, I don't have anything particularly written. This is just to show you what's what. So now we've got drums, guitar, vocals. We can take that off record and we can have a listen back. Click up here to decide where we're going to go from. We're going to go from here because it's near where the vocals start. Now, as we can see on the master track, it's clipping a little. So we'll come down here, Control and A to select everything. And then if we click on the volume knob here, we can turn everything down by, let's turn it down about 5 dB. There we go. And go back to here. That's superb. So when you've got the levels and everything as you want it, and you know, so you've got a little knob here to pan things left and right and so on, it's time to actually render your track. So we're going to save this first, and we're going to go save project as, As you can see, it's opened up my Reaper Media folder, which I said about earlier on. Down here, I always tick create subdirectory for project, move all media into project directory, and copy it rather than move source media. Now, the reason I do that is I sometimes use a different reverb where I put samples in and it uses a sample to generate the reverb. I also have a drum kit that I've built in Reaper using samples of other drum kits to use as a MIDI kit, and it'll move those samples away from the folder that they're in originally if I don't tell it to just copy them. So we're going to call this tutor trial, and when I press save, if I go into my Reaper Media folder, you can see there's a folder called tutor trial. Double click on here. This is just the tab to open my project. All my audio stuff is in here, and there's a peaks folder there with all my peaks stuff, so it keeps everything nice and separate and I can find it all. If we go back to the Reaper Media folder, usually you'd see the all this stuff there if I'd saved it another way previously, but it's all nice and neat and it's not going to be deleted accidentally. So now we go to File, Render. If we go to Tutor Trial, we can choose the output of the WAV file. Reaper does have video capabilities. You can choose it as video. I have the secondary output set as MP3. You can turn it off. You can change this to MP3. You can have it as whatever you like. It's always best to do a quick dry run, like so. We can see that I'm clipping here. So what we will do is on the master, for the effects, we're going to put a limiter. Real limit, and we're going to set the brick wall at -1. This means that, yes, that anything above -1 will be limited. So we'll have a listen, because it shouldn't be doing much because I wasn't clipping very much. And we can see here where it's actually working. Now I've just realized that you can't actually hear that because something's gone wrong with my audio through to the video. But we'll sort that out later. You'll have to just imagine what I can hear, unfortunately. So now we can just go here and go File, Render. If we do a dry run, there we go, we can see that there's no clip-in and so on. Close, and then we can render one file. And there we go. So if we close this and go back into our Reaper Media folder, into our tutor trial folder, there is the song that we've just dealt with. So if we go to project, new project tab, and here you can actually, wrong folder, tutor trial, you can drag this in, and there we go. Hey yeah, yeah, yeah. Recording in the river. Hey yeah. So there we go. That's what we've done. Let's try and we'll copy and paste these over. We'll mute that so you can skip. Hey yeah, yeah, yeah. Recording in the river. There we go. So sorry about the problems with the audio. I hope this teaches you how to get set up, how to do a song, how to save it, and how to render it. If you've got any questions, if you want other videos about other things, let me know and I'll do the best I can.